أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المظلومين المعصومين، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم ومنكري فضائلهم والمتقولين عليهم من الأولين والآخرين. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا صاحب الزمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك وعلى آبائك الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، عجل الله تعالى سيدي فرجك وسهل ظهورك وخروجك، وجعلنا من أنصارك وأعوانك والذابين عنك والمستشهدين بين يديك. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And first of all, allow me to thank the brothers and the youth in Al-Seraj Association for holding this workshop. As you know, the topic of awaiting and the relationship with our beloved Imam Al-Mahdi alayhi salam is of utmost importance, because it is the core of our aqeedah, it is the core of our belief. However, when this belief comes under suspicion or questioning or confusion, the brothers thought that it is of very most important, especially in the contemporary times that we are living in, that we hold a workshop for the dear brothers and sisters to answer any questions that they might have and to clarify, insha'Allah, bi'idhnillah wa bitasdidi Mawlana Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam, what we believe according to the Holy Quran and to the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam, how this relationship should be and what is our role and responsibility, particularly in this contentious time and difficult time that the believers are living in. I start by giving you the outline of our workshop, and inshallah it sounds like a lot, but we will break it down and inshallah give you an opportunity to ask questions, and I will be asking you questions as well, so that inshallah we make it as interactive as possible. Of course, it is an academic discussion, so my apologies if some of the material is a bit dry, lots of narrations, lots of scientific words or depth, a little bit of depth that we have to go in, but I need your patience, inshallah. It's a Friday evening. We can, inshallah, focus and work together. First of all, we want to discuss the definition of awaiting, because the topic is awaiting for the Imam. What does it mean to await? The second is who has the right of directing or authority to the believers at the time of ghaibah on how to await. Then we will inshallah talk about something called passive or being passive awaiting, and is there such a thing in Islam altogether? And we will question this altogether. Is there passive Islam or is there passive awaiting? Then we will talk about the narrations of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam, which have been misinterpreted to say that we have been promoted to be passive. Then we will ask the question, is it true that for the first 1,000 years of history of Islam or Tashayyu', no one in Islam or Shia Islam politicized Karbala? And what does that even mean? Then we will talk about, is it true that for the first 1,000 years Shia were passive, and it's only in the last 200 years they woke up to themselves and became active? Then we will talk about contemporary day and age. is it true that we have active maraja' and passive maraja'? Then inshallah we will connect and conclude with an important message, and that is the correct way of awaiting and building that relationship with our beloved Imam. لذكره الصلوات. Of course, I begin with the blessings of this hadith that Ahlul Bayt, and particularly from the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayh, he says, await the relief or the faraj, and do not become despair from Rawhullah, for it is the best of deeds to wait and to do intidhar of al-faraj. And that who waits regarding our matter is like the one who is sacrificing his blood for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hadith that is agreed upon by all Muslims actually, not even Shia. Even our Sunni brothers narrate this hadith that أفضل أعمال أمتي انتظار الفرج. However, once again, we do not want to walk past a hadith without being critical and scrutinize word by word what it means. The key word that I want to examine in this hadith is awaiting. Awaiting the relief or awaiting the faraj. Before we get into the Quranic and hadith evidence, because we know that in the Holy Quran, the methodology is that if you don't know what a word means or you don't understand a statement, you need to compare it to other ayat where this word has been used. Or same thing in the narrations of Ahlul Bayt. If you don't know what a word means, you need to compare it to other words used in other so that you may come to understanding. But before we actually get into this process, I want to ask the audience sitting here. I begin with our sisters. Sisters, if you have guests coming to your house and they say to you at 9 o'clock we will be at your doorstep for dinner, how do you wait for your guests? This is what we call in Arabic and in Hausa studies dalilun aqli. Logic, common sense that anyone can use regardless of your religious beliefs or your background. I am waiting for guests to come over. Do I sit on the couch and just wait? I'm waiting for my guests. They say, what are you doing? I say, I'm waiting for the guests to come for dinner. What are you sitting? Didn't go and prepare the food, prepare the tea, prepare the sweets, prepare the house, tidy up the house, clean? That's waiting for your guests to come over. Nobody says waiting means, even common sense and logic, no one says waiting means to sit and wait. So first of all, when we look at the words of Ahlul Bayt, we can't say that أفضل أعمال أمتي انتظار الفرج means to cross your legs and wait. That's even aqli is not possible. A farmer who is waiting for the right season to harvest his crop. Some fruits, we harvest them in winter, some of them in summer, some of them in autumn. What do you say to the farmer? What are you waiting for? He says, I'm waiting for the season. But does the farmer sit all year long and just waits for that one season? What does he do all year? He waters and he fertilizes and he puts the seeds and does all of this. It's not just waiting for the season. Actively working and preparing for the season. So that's from a aqli point of view that I don't even need to go to the Quran or to the Hadith to understand this narration. Second of all, I worry about the accuracy of statements that say things like, given we don't have access to an Imam, we are left wondering, what should I do? Should we wait passively or should we wait actively? Because the Imam is ghaib. And if you actually look at the profanity of this statement, there's two types of profanities in this statement. The first one is we don't have access to the Imam. It's like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed a hujjah on this earth and made him useless, wal-'iyadu billah. And made him inaccessible and of no benefit. We don't have access to the Imam, we don't know what to do. Is that why he's called Hujjatullah ala al-ard? And the second thing is, this is the question, this is the second profanity. Please think about this for a minute. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent 124,000 prophets from Adam alayhi salam to the Khatam Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Allah salli ala Muhammad. And he sent 12 Imams after that. From Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salamullahi alayhi to Al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan salawatullahi alayhi. Allahumma salli ala. And he sent holy books. صحف إبراهيم وتوراة موسى وزبور داود وإنجيل عيسى, right? And finally he sent the Holy Quran. So that believers in the 21st century sit here and wonder in the 21st century, what should I be doing? Waiting actively or passively? Do you truly believe that? Is there even a point of asking this question, that given that we don't have access to an Imam, we don't know how we should wait? What did God send the prophets and the messengers and the Imams and the holy books for then? So that we are left wondering, lost? Where is اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا? Do we not believe that our religion is perfect and complete? How is it that he leaves us waiting and not knowing what to do, because he is ghaib and we don't have access to an Imam? Hence, we are just left wondering. And there are many theories. This theory says this theory says that. Aqlan, that's unacceptable if we believe that Islam is a true religion and a complete religion. And naqlan, using the Holy Quran and the narrations of Ahl al-Bayt, it's also not acceptable to say that, because Islam is a complete religion, and it's a religion of logic and make common sense, and it's a religion that did not leave humankind's wondering what they should do. Then we should ask the question, so if there is an answer to this question, who has the right or the authority of directing the believers at the time of the ghaibah on how to await? The answer has to be there somewhere, right? You agree? If we believe that the religion is complete and Islam has an answer to every question, then who has the authority? Who did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the authority to be able to answer this question? I have 5 narrations to talk about, so feel free after 2 or 3 narrations, if you think that the point is clear and we can move on, I'm more than happy to move on. Of course, in the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, we believe that it is very clear that authority is being given to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi and to Ulil Amr, who are Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, the Ma'soomeen, the 12 Imams, right? There's no point of contention or there's no argument about that within the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. However, this question is who has the right or authority of directing the believers at the time of ghaibah. In the time of ghaibah, ghaibatul kubra if you want to be specific, because we don't have specific nuwab of the Imam in ghaibatul, like we had in ghaibatul sughra. Who has the authority to tell us how to wait in the time of ghaibatul kubra? So let's have a look at the first hadith, which is written in Usul al-Kafi, volume 1, and it is also written again in Furu' al-Kafi. and it's also in Wasa'il al-Shi'a, and it is also in the book of Tahdhib al-Ahkam للشيخ الطوسي. So Tahdhib and Al-Kafi are probably of the highest caliber of books of narration in the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam. Now, in the interest of time, the Arabic is there, but I will only read the English part, and those who are interested, they are more than happy. I'm happy to share my slides as well at the end. Brother Haider, happy to send it to you as well, and then you can share it as well. For those who want the hadith in Arabic. This is an accepted hadith. Maqbulat Umar ibn Hanzala. So Maqbula means that all of our ashab accepted this hadith. We don't have somebody who got up and said, oh, I have a problem with this hadith. Maqbula means it has been accepted by the general. So, I'll read it in English. Abu Abdullah salawatullahi alayhi, which is Imam al-Sadiq, was asked about two men from our people, in other words, Shia, that they have a difference of opinion. What should they do? How should they resolve their differences? Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says they should look towards someone who narrates our tradition. Ruwat hadithina. And knows our halal and haram, which means faqih or mujtahid, someone who knows all the rules of halal and haram, and knows our rulings, knows the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam. They should accept him as their judge, their decision maker. For I have made him upon you a ruler or a decision maker. فَإِنِّي قَدْ جَعَلْتَهُ عَلَيْكُمْ حَاكِمًا. I have made him upon you what? Almost like a governor or a ruler, or someone who has the authority to rule between the people. For if he has to make a decision using our opinion, Ruwat hadithina don't make their decision based on their opinion. They make their decision based on what Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam have taught. Then it is not accepted of him, this person who is disputing. Sure, and if it is not accepted from him, from the judge, from the ruler, then surely this is considered to be disregard to the rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you say to this person who meets these categories, I don't like your judgment, I don't like your opinion, I disagree with you, then you have disagreed with the rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to the words of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. And he has revoked us. He has only not said no to the judge, but he has said no to us, as in Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And whoever revokes us has revoked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like we read in Ziyaratul Jami'ah, Man radda alaykum kafir. Simple as that. This is one hadith, and as I said, it's narrated in multiple times. The next one is Shaykh al-Saduq, Radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, and Shaykh al-Tusi, Radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, narrate this hadith. Shaykh al-Saduq, his book is called Kamaluddin wa Tamamun Ni'mah. And Shaykh al-Tusi, his book is called Al-Ghayba, one of these books where he compiles the narrations. Kulayni is one of the narrators, right? He narrates from Ishaq ibn Ya'qub. He asked Muhammad ibn Uthman al-Amri. Muhammad ibn Uthman al-Amri is which na'ib? 1, 2, 3 of Thani, the second one. Muhammad ibn Uthman. Uthman ibn Sa'id is the first one. Second one is Muhammad ibn Uthman al-Amri. He says, I asked Muhammad ibn Uthman al-Amri, Radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, to deliver a letter for me with queries. Deliver a letter means what? He wants the letter to go to our beloved Imam, salamullahi alayh, because these four, they had direct contact with the Imam, they met with him regularly. To deliver the with queries, I have. So he delivered the following reply in the handwriting of our Mawla, صلوات الله عليه صاحب العصر والزمان. اللهم صل على. أما ما سألت عنه أرشدك الله وثبتك. As for what you asked for, reply, and then at the end he gives him general guidance. He says, وَأَمَّا الْحَوَادِثُ الْوَاقِعَةُ فَارْجِعُوا فِيهَا إِلَى رُوَاةِ حَدِيثِنَا فَإِنَّهُمْ حُجَّتِي عَلَيْكُمْ وَأَنَا حُجَّةُ اللَّهِ. As for the upcoming events, anything that happens in the future, in the time of Ghaybatul Kubra, after you don't have access to these letters back and forth, then follow the narrators of our hadith, for they are my proof on you, and I am the proof of Allah. Imam is Hujjatullah on this earth. This earth wouldn't exist without him, right? But the scholars, the narrators of the hadith are the hujjah that Allah has put in place on us, so that we don't go to God on the day of judgment and I say, I didn't know. I thought I should just sit at home. Right? Interestingly, these narrators of our hadith, Sayyid Abu al-Qasim al-Khu'i rahmatullahi alayh, in Sharh al-Urwat al-Wuthqa, which is his commentary on the book Urwat al-Wuthqa, he brings this hadith and he says, as for the words narrators of our hadith, it means the maraji', because we don't have any marji' who gives his own opinion. The marji' in tashayyu' is simply someone who extracts the law of Islam from the hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam. It's not that we used to have ruwat al-hadith, then they became maraji'. What did they become the maraji'? Like they grew a new head? What is it? Now they were called ruwat al-hadith, and now they are something different. Ruwat al-hadith is the marji', because the marji''s job, go to Najaf, go to Qum, sit down, and listen to what they have to say. قال أبا عبد الله الصادق قال الباقر. They don't have anything else to say. Ruwat al-hadith is the marji', because his job is to read the hadith and to extract the law for you according to the best understanding what you should do. So Ruwat al-Hadith is exactly that. It falls in the definition of the marji'iyyah. It's not like, yes, the term marji'iyyah is a new terminology. But it's the same. You can call your marji' taqleed today Rawi Hadith Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam, the narrator, or you can call him marji' taqleed. Or you can call him whatever in your own language. It's the same thing. Effectively, it's the same thing. He is delivering for you the words of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam. It's as simple as that. Shaykh al-Tusi, in his book Tahdhib al-Ahkam, he narrates on an authentic chain of narration from Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Mahbub, from Ahmad ibn Muhammad, all the way to Abu Khadija, who is one of the companions of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, he sent me to our companions and told me, tell them, if a dispute arises between you or a disagreement about an issue, giving and taking comes between you, be wary of seeking judgment of those sinful people. Don't go to in simple words, don't go to a secular government. Don't go to the common law. Why? Appoint between yourselves a man from among you who knows what we say is permissible and impermissible. For I have made such a person a judge, and beware of raising your disputes to the tyrant ruler. Don't go left, right. Stay within the person who knows the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam, the most learned of his time, and make him the judge. Make him the one who gives you the rulings. Don't stay wondering and give the theories and say maybe it's like this, maybe it should be a government like this, maybe it should be a government like that. No, you have access to someone who knows our knowledge. then go to him and he will make him your judge. As I said, these are just a handful, 5, I picked literally 5, but it's out of hundreds of narrations. Out of hundreds of narrations and proofs. But as I said, just for the sake of time, I will just share some. In Kitab al-Kafi, volume 1, also an authentic narration from Ali ibn Ibrahim from his father all the way to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi said, talking about the merits of knowledge and the merits of seeking knowledge and becoming learned. Of course, we've all heard these narrations, so I will skip over that. If you go to seek knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put you on a path to paradise. The angels will lower their wings because you are a seeker of knowledge, and the inhabitants of the earth and the skies will pray for your forgiveness, until he says, for surely the scholars are the heirs of the Prophet. فَالْعُلَمَاء وَرَثَةُ الْأَنْبِيَاء. The scholars, our scholars, are the inheritors of the prophets and the imams, of course. This is in the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So why are we wondering? Allah says in the Holy Quran, وَلَكُمْ فِي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. The best example God gave you is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. So why are you wondering? He's saying, if you want to know our opinion, go to the scholars, for they are our inheritors. And finally, I think this is my hadith number 5. Also in the book of Al-Kafi, volume 1, he narrates from Ali ibn Ibrahim, from the Nawfali, from the Sakuni, all very authentic narrators. From Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi said, the jurists are the trustees of the messengers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't send 124,000 prophets and imams and books so that this knowledge can be lost. He gave it to someone, and it has been passed down. The jurists, al-fuqaha, are the trustees of the messengers, as long as they do not enter in the world of dunya, as long as they're not bought over by money. And we talked, those who attended some of my lectures in Muharram, I talked about that. That one of the unique characteristics of the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam is that our fuqaha, our maraji' were always financially independent of any government being paid to pay them to do their job. Why? Because we have the khum system. So Rasulullah emphasized this point, that the faqih, the scholars, will always be the trustee on this earth as long as they are not financially dependent on anyone to pay them to do their job. Why? Because, like we see in modern Saudi Arabia, 10 years ago a woman was not allowed to drive. And then now she's allowed to drive and attend a concert. Is it the same woman, or did they change? Or did we have a new holy book being revealed since then? What changed? Nothing has changed, other than the fact that the government pays these people to give the fatwa. Today, here is 100,000 riyals, say this. Tomorrow, here's 200,000 riyals, change it to this. Simple as that. And it was said, O Messenger of Allah, what do you mean by entering into the world? He, sallallahu alayhi wa said, following the tyrant ruler. If they do this, then be wary of them when it comes to your religion. Of course, you cannot follow someone who claims to be a scholar, but they are following the tyrant ruler. So, this in conclusion of the first point, so I can move on to the second point. I say, if you are unsure of what the Imam wants of you, then go to those who the Imam asked you to follow in his absence. It's as simple as that. We don't know. And instead of saying that there is no Shi'i who has 100% correct answers to everything, otherwise there would be 15 ma'sumin, we acknowledge that the maraja' are not ma'sumin. However, we also must acknowledge that it is our duty to follow them as representatives of the Imam as per their words. Right? So we are not here to say that there is 15, 16, 17, 18, 20 ma'soom. Because none of the maraja' will even accept it. Mind you, we have in Islamic history some of our learned scholars who went back to their Lord and no one can claim that they saw them commit a single sin. But of course, they are far too humble to utter that. And of course, their isma would be isma sughra, practical isma, not isma kubra like that the Imams alayhum salam have received. But that's not my point. My point is, yes, we are not here to say that the marji'iyya is a ma'soom. But what we say is our taklif, our responsibility in the time of ghaiba is to go back to them. It's as simple as that. Not to sit down and create our own theories and our own terminology and our own concepts and principles and say maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's this, no one knows, and it's evolved over the years. It's like an evolution. It's not an evolution. And I will share that with you in a minute. It's not an evolution. The teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam has been the same. حلال محمد حلال إلى يوم القيامة وحرام محمد حرام إلى يوم القيامة. This is the hadith. Whatever the Rasulullah said is permissible will remain permissible until the day of judgment, and whatever Rasulullah said is impermissible and forbidden will remain forbidden until the day of judgment. It's not a matter of we are saying these people are ma'sumin, and more than that, we have a reason to follow them even though we don't claim for them to be ma'sumin, because somebody gave them the authority. It's like when you appoint somebody at work. You are a boss at work and you are responsible for creating a department. Can you say that this department I'm going to only employ people 100%? I'm a director of a hospital. I'm going to employ doctors that will never make a mistake. Where are you going to find those doctors from? A doctor that never makes a mistake is not a human being. But as human beings, within reason, within aql, we have to go and see a doctor, even though there is a chance that they may make a mistake. Right? But we go and search for the best doctor, the most learned doctor, the most experienced doctor, and that's exactly what we do in the process of taqleed. And that's been our taklif in the time of ghaiba, as simple as that. Of course, this system of taqleed will all go, insha'Allah, in his reappearance, salawatullahi alayhi. But in the meantime, that is our taklif. So, if that is straightforward and easy to answer, then where did this concept of having to choose, this is my question for even the crowd, if somebody can answer, where did this concept of having to choose between becoming active or passive even come from? And in Islam, do you truly believe that we were ever asked to be passive? Is this religion of Islam a religion of passivity and sitting back and watching? This is really the big question. Any person who studies the Holy Quran, give him a copy of the Holy Quran and say, this is the holy book for this religion. Go and think, what kind of a human being does this religion want to build? Wants to build someone that just stays at home and does nothing. Is that religion? I give you a couple of examples from the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah At-Tawbah says, وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا, and do, work, strive. فَسَيَرَى اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah is watching, the Prophet is watching, the mu'minun, which is Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they're watching. Do act. This is ayah mutlaqa. This is not وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا في the time of the Imam, and don't اعْمَلُوا in the time of ghaibah. We don't have such a concept. Quran is mutlaq for every time and every place. Another ayah. وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ. Mu'mineen, believing men and believing women, they are responsible and allies of one another. What does that mean? What does it mean I'm responsible for you? It means it is my responsibility and your responsibility and your responsibility, sister, because mu'mineen and mu'minat, that we enjoin in good what is right and forbid that which is wrong and establish prayer. That is the responsibility of each and every person. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah didn't say this ayah only applies if you have an imam in your time who will tell you what to do. Of course, the direction always comes from the imam. But this is each and every one. Wajib aini. It's your wajib in every day and age. And the second thing is this confusing thing about having to choose between passive Islam or passive awaiting and active awaiting. You assess yourself. Now we've had a week. Today is Friday, alhamdulillah, come the end of the week. You ask yourself, when you do a amal, when you do something, do you say to yourself, today I am being passive? Today I haven't left the house. I'm just going to pray. I'm going to do my salah, clean the house, stay at home. I'm being passive. When you go to university, when you go to school, when you go to work, what is that? Under what category does that fall? Passive or active? When you pray, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. Salah is an active process of stopping and forbidding fahsha and munkar. Do we have to now call salah passive? That Imam said be passive, stay at home and pray. Salah tells you to be active. Salah forbids you from committing and makes you responsible over others to stop others from committing evil. A lady or a man at home parenting their children. My dear brothers, my respected audience sitting here, listening to me, when you are at home parenting your kids, inshallah, this next generation who we will see to be the supporters of the Imam, Ajjalallahu Farajahu Sharif, is this active or passive? I don't understand. How are we going to be able to categorize our a'mal into these actions? On the weekend, on Saturday, I go to school to teach Quran. And on Sunday, I go to protest against the tyrants of this world, the Yazid of this time. What do I tell myself? On Saturday, I'm passive, just teaching Quran and diniyat. And on Sunday, I'm active. It's two faces to one religion? We only have one. Inna ad-dina 'inda Allah al-Islam. We only have one religion. There's no categorizing your amal. Oh, I'm passive today because I'm just teaching Quran. Like teaching Quran is just nothing. And active is if I am going out in the city and demonstrating and protesting against the tyrants of this time. There's no difference. Islam is one. وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا. Say, act and work. فَسَيَرَى اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ. So my point in all of this, so I can conclude on this point, is that I actually believe it's even wrong to start even the discussion of passive and active, because Islam is an active religion. Islam is a religion of activity. Islam never told anyone to be a hermit. Even the monks and the priests, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this ruhbaniyya, this priesthood, is not acceptable in Islam. Even if you are the best and the best of worshippers, you don't sleep a single second at night, you are just in sajda, in prayer. That's not, Allah doesn't want that. I'm not going to get married, I'm not going to buy a house, I'm not going to buy a car, I'm not going to live in a suburb, I'm just going to go and build myself a place of worship and just pray and worship all day and all night. Allah says, that's not what I asked you to do. Right? So the actual questioning of active and passive and, what is our responsibility? First of all, if you don't know what your responsibility, Ahlul Bayt told you where your responsibility lies. And they told you who to go to get your answers. And the second of all, I don't know why we're even having the debate of active or passive, because the whole Quran is clear and the narrations of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are clear. However, usually there are ahadith that are put forward to kind of say, no, actually Ahlul Bayt did tell us to be passive. And and once again, sorry if I'm going into a little bit of a detailed discussion in this next part, but inshallah I still have your attention. Our fuqaha, our ulama in the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam, one of their biggest roles and responsibilities is to differentiate when the ahadith are not conflicting. I don't like to use the word conflicting because we don't believe that the words of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are conflicting, but they are conflicting in meaning. They are able to resolve and find a resolution between what looks like conflicting narrations. What looks like. It's not the narrations themselves are not conflicting. Because Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are nurun wahid. They are one holy nur. But what we as interpreters of their word, so we say, but hang on, Imam in this situation says this, and in this situation he says this. Right? So how do we resolve this conflict in understanding? We go back to the people who know how to resolve the conflict. And it happens in the Holy Quran as well. If the one ayah sounds like it's meaning something and then another ayah, we have to go back to the experts in the Holy Quran that says, no, actually, this ayah is broader than this ayah is specific, this ayah is general, this ayah is talking about this context, this ayah is talking about this context. The same thing with hadith. So the next few examples of ahadith that I'm about to give you are used to kind of say, look, Ahlul Bayt told us to be passive. But I will then show you how they have been misinterpreted to make it sound like we are being asked to be passive. But that's nothing like what Ahlul Bayt have asked us to do. This hadith in the book of Al-Kafi, volume 8, hadith number 483 from Umar ibn Hanzala. He says, Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, there are 5 signs before the rise of Al-Hujjah alayhi salam: the heavenly call, the Sufyani, the sinking of the earth, the murder of the pure self, and the Yamani. I asked, may I be your ransom, may I be sacrificed for you? If anyone from your house should make an uprising, khuruj, should we make an uprising along with him? He said, no. Right? So they say, look, he says, don't make an uprising. And by the way, the word uprise is not, it actually, the narration, the Arabic narration, we have to be careful in translation, khuruj, which is a word uniquely used for who? Sahib al-Amr ajjalallahu farajahu al-sharif. He is the one who yadhhar wa yakhruj. صلى على محمد وآل محمد. So this hadith serves no purpose. Why? Because it is hadith makhsus. It is a specific hadith for who? Sahib al-Amr ajjalallahu farajahu al-Sharif. You know, some narrations is talking about general context. Some narrations are talking about this hadith is talking about khuruj of who? Of the 12th. Specifically for him. Why? Because the Imam began by saying there are 5 signs for his reappearance. Sufyani, Yamani, Khasf, Qatl al-Nafs al-Zakiyya, all of these things. He's saying your Mawla, your 12th is when these 5s appear. If today someone comes out in Najaf or in Qom or in London or in Brisbane or says, I am Imam Mahdi and follow me. What do we say to him? You're a liar. Go back to your house because the 5 signs have not appeared, have not happened. It's as simple as that. This hadith cannot be generalized for any uprising. And therefore no one has the right to claim to be Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam before these 5 signs have reappeared. And anyone who has studied the ABC of ilm al-hadith or ilm al-diraya will know that. When we look at a hadith, we study هذا حديث مخصوص or محصور. It has been given in a specific context, or it's general, applies to every time and age. The next hadith is from Abu Basir and Aba Abdullah al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, every standard or banner that is raised before the rising of Al-Qa'im alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajhum, then its owner is a taghut being worshipped apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's very unfortunate how shallow some people's understanding is that they try to use this hadith to apply it to today's honored and learned and pious scholars of this day and age who are sacrificing themselves for Islam. If they wanted to, they can go and have the best life. If they wanted to, they can go and have the best life. They come and take this hadith and they say this hadith applies to people who come and cause uprisings in the name of Islam before Imam, because Imam said, one of the Imams said he is taghut. Look at the tail end of the hadith. It gives you their description. What's the tail end? He is taghut, being worshipped apart from Allah, which means that person who comes and raises a banner is not going to be raising the banner of Al-Muhammad salawatullahi alayhim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil. He is someone who is raising the banner of someone else, calling for another way, not the way of Islam, not the way of Ahlul Bayt, not saying to people, let me bring you back to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, the interpretation of the hadith 452 in the Kafi, the Imam that calls for themselves beside Al-Muhammad alayhum salam is the one who claims imamah outside of these 12, and the one who claims to be the Mahdi, of course, or the one who claims and asks for people to worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence, they are being asked for the obedience towards another religion, not Islam. Otherwise, I will give you examples of people who rose other than the 12, and the Imams endorsed their rising, and they accepted it and they praised them for it. So it's not that only these 12 can rise, and if you don't, then you are taghut. No, it's if you rise and call people towards yourself, call to people towards your beliefs, call people towards the worship of something other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or other than the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam. How are we going for time, Haider? Going okay? Imam al-Sadiq, I'll just move on to, I think, one last hadith in this area. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, O Sadir. Sadir al-Sayrafi. A little bit of discussion around his personality and thing, but we accept him for he is one of Ruwat Kamil al-Ziyarat. And Sayyiduna al-Khu'i radwanullah ta'ala alayhi says and has an opinion that Ruwat Kamil al-Ziyarat are all accepted and respected. Stay at your home and be a rug of your house. Don't move and remain absolutely silent so long the earth and the sky are silent, and the sinking of the earth has not occurred, and heavenly call, sayha, has not been heard. When you hear that the Sufyani has risen, come to us even if you have to walk, or in one of the narrations, even if you have to crawl. While we accept this hadith to be correct, once again, it's taking a specific hadith and applying it to the correct, incorrect context, which is very problematic. God forbid if we were asked to be fuqaha and to extract, the rules of Islam if we don't know how to do this. We'll be making wudu the wrong way and praying the wrong way, and because that's the science, right? That's why a faqih becomes a faqih, and that's why a mujtahid becomes a mujtahid, and that's why a marja' becomes a marja'. Because he or she, we have female mujtahideen, so the ladies don't say that, right? Because he or she can look at a hadith and understand the context and the time and the authenticity and the specificity and all of these things, right? First of all, what did we say before we get into Sadir? Because Sadir has a story. But before we talk about Sadir, because the hadith begins with Imam al-Sadiq, doesn't say, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O you who believe. He doesn't say, Ya shi'at Ali ibn Abi Talib. He doesn't say, O shi'a of Ja'far al-Sadiq. He says, Ya Sadir. I'm talking to you, Sadir, in specific. All right, that's point number one. The second point is what we discussed in the previous ahadith. The Imam is clear. He's talking about what? He's talking about Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. That I, even though I'm an Imam and I'm a ma'soom, I am not the one who's been tasked with the qiyam or khuruj, right? This specific khuruj, which is that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa described Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam as what? يملأ الأرض قسطا وعدلا بعدما ملئت ظلما وجورا. He's the one who has been tasked with the mission of being able to fulfill justice on earth completely after it has been filled with corruption. That doesn't mean others don't try. But this particular one, the 12th one, he has this specific grant. He's been given this specific task. So once again, the hadith is talking about Imam Mahdi. However, let me give you a background about how to distinguish a specific hadith from a general hadith. Sadir, why Imam says, Oh Sadir, Ya Sadir? First of all, we have to also understand that hadiths of the Imam could be said in the context of taqiyya, right? Even though I'm not saying that Sadir worked for anyone else or used to, tell this, but sometimes it's people who are sitting around the Imam when he is answering questions, right? So sometimes he is sitting down talking to one of the Shia, but someone from the Abbasi government is walking past. That's a possibility. He has to do taqiyya. Sometimes, no. It's no one from the Abbasi government walking around, but one of the Shia is a big mouth. He talks. He goes and tells his other friends, I heard Imam Sadiq alayhi salam say we're going to do this tomorrow. And then the government catch him and say, look, we heard you said, because one of your companions said this. So sometimes the Imam has to do taqiyya from his own companions who are maybe leaking information to others. And once again, do not follow those who claim to be the Mahdi, because the Mahdi has definitive signs, occurred, sinking of the earth, uprising of the Sufyani, and so forth. Sadir, in specific, he has a background of being a loyal, and a believer of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam. But not just a loyal believer, very enthusiastic one. So much so that he gets himself into trouble. He got thrown into prison once, and Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam had to go and bail him out. And he said to him, Sadir, that's your one and only chance. I've bailed you out today, don't do it again. And that's why he's saying to him, specific to you, Sadir, be like a rug in your house. And the timing and the circumstance of the Imam's time. The Imam saying, today is not the time to rise. Not forever we will not rise. And I will give you a hadith from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam where he says, if I had the chance, I would rise. If I had the time, I would rise. And I'm very sorry for taking too much of your time, but please let me share with you this hadith in the book of Al-Kafi, volume number 2, page 242, hadith number 4. The reason I'm quoting it for you is I would like you to go and look it up and read it in your own time, because it's a good story. It's a good story that clarifies a lot of this misinterpretation about the Ayyimah told us to sit around and do nothing. Kulaini narrates that Sadir visited Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. This Sadir is, what did we say? Super enthusiastic, super active. He just wants the Imam to do something. And once again, we have to be respectful with our Imams. It's not our jobs to do that. Sometimes I see some of our young ones, they say, how long Imam Mahdi is going to wait for? Come on, how long is he going to wait for? Can't he see what's happening to us? I said, be respectful. He is the Imam. You're not the Imam. He tells you what to do. You don't tell him what to do. Right? The hadith is there in Arabic for those who want to read it, but I've translated the summary. Imam alayhi salam, Sadir walks in. He says to him, why don't you rise? Imam said, why do you ask me this question, O Sadir? Sadir replies, because of the number of followers and Shia and supporters you have. For surely if Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayh had what you have in the number of Shia and the supporters, the tribe of Taym and Adi, referring to Abu Bakr and Umar, the tribe of Taym and Adi wouldn't have gotten it. If Ali ibn Abi Talib had who you had, Taym and Adi, wouldn't have got the khilafah of him. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam replies, cool, calm, collected. How many are they? He says, 100,000. He says, Imam replies, making him more fired up. He says, 100,000? He says, no, 200,000. Imam says, 200,000? Are you sure? Did you do a census? Have you done a good count? Then Sadir goes up in number. He says, half the population on this earth. Imam, the hadith goes on long, but the Imam says to Sadir, calm down. I'm going to go to Yanbu'. Yanbu' is a place outside of Medina. He says, I'm going to go to Yanbu'. Come with me. He goes with Imam to Yanbu' until we reach Yanbu'. We stop somewhere to pray. After we prayed, we saw a shepherd with a flock. A shepherd that has flock with him. He said to me, oh, by Allah, wallah ya Sadir, if I had the same number of supporters as this flock, I wouldn't wait and remain sitting. So Sadir says, after I finished my salah, I counted the flock, there was only 17. Only 17. Sadir, in his mind, he has half the population of the earth following him. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, I don't even have 17 true ones. And that's why even in many narrations, they say that if we had the same number as Ashab al-Hussein alayhi salam, we would rise. And that's why, brothers and sisters, you may notice that today I'm a little bit fired up and emotional, because where it gets worse is that now we are accusing our A'imma alayhum as-salam of being passive. Right? So there's one problem with saying be passive. The Imams told you to be passive. The second thing is, and this is now borderlining on blasphemy, borderlining with heresy, saying actually, by definition, Imam al-Sadiq was passive. By definition, Imam al-Sadiq was not Husayni. By definition, Imam al-Rida alayhi salam wasn't only not Husayni and not active, he actually worked for the government. Imam al-Rida, it's like he went and got a paid job for the Ma'mun. Astaghfirullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Abul Hasan. Not only that, he went and worked for the government. Imam Sadiq was passive. This hadith from Sadir, he says, if I had 17 like this flock, I would rise. If I had 72 like Ashab al-Hussein, I would rise. Imam Sadiq is passive. Why? Once again, we go back to the first problem. When you define teaching Islam and spreading the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt as passive, then of course, you're going to then now accuse the Imam of being passive, which is a problem on top of a problem, because you did the wrong definition and now you are adding this definition to the Ma'sumeen. Imam Rida alayhi salam is being accused of working for the government. Do you know how disrespectful that is? If you want to say that about Imam Rida alayhi salam, then go and say it about Yusuf alayhi salam. Right? Imam Rida alayhi salam was taken by force from Medina. And I bring you from Uyun Akhbar al-Rida, the book of Shaykh al-Saduq, hundreds of narrations that the Imam alayhi salam not only made sure that people know that he is leaving Medina by force. He sat Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam in his lap and he said to the people of Medina and to his family, cry for me, weep for me, I am being taken from here by force. I am not leaving by choice. If Imam Rida alayhi salam worked for the Abbasi government, then why did they kill him at the end? Why did they kill him? Right? Were the debates of Imam Rida alayhi salam with Al-Ma'mun passive? When he stood up for the Aqeedah of Islam, which is the core of religion. He stood against the Zoroastrians and the atheists and the philosophers and the Sufis and the Christians and the Jewish and the Sabians. Is that passive Islam? No, he says no. Imam Rida never stood in the streets of Khurasan and said, Hayhat min al-dhilla. Why is the only way of supporting Islam is to use that sentence? You can't support Islam by standing in a debate and debating the religions of the other, or debating Ma'mun, who is the tyrant of your time, and debating him and proving your proofs. That you have to say, Hayhat min al-dhilla, so that you are considered to be Husayni. Hayhat min al-dhilla is only one branch of the mission of Karbala. Imam Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam stood in front of the grave of his grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa in Medina. This is the incident that resulted in his long life imprisonment. Harun, the tyrant of his time, came and wanted to show off. This is called existential war. This is when it's either us or you. Imam al-Kadhim doesn't need to say Hayhat min al-dhilla. His actions say it. Harun comes in, tyrant, Netanyahu of his time, and he says, Assalamu alayka ya ibn al-am. Peace be upon you, O cousin. Why? I am the cousin of the Prophet, therefore I am legitimacy. I am automatically legitimate Khalifa because I am the cousin of the Prophet. Why? Because he's saying, I am the son of Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib. Abbas is the uncle of the Prophet, therefore I'm his cousin. Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam doesn't need to start shouting Hayhat min al-dhilla to him. He breaks him with one word. As-salamu. He looks at the grave of his grandfather. He says, As-salamu alayka ya Aba. Peace be upon you, O father. Harun is now boiling. He says, what do you mean? What do you mean he's your father? The best we can say he is the father of your grandmother. He says, if Rasulullah was to rise from behind this grave, from behind this panel now, and ask your daughter in marriage, would you let him? He says, and I would be honored. It would be my honor. He says, as for my daughter, he would never ask her in marriage because my daughter is his daughter. He's her grandfather. Simple as that. That's why I call him father. I don't know, what do you want to call this? You want to call A'imma alayhum salam passive? The fact that... Sure.
I think you have totally missed the point here.
Yes.
What was discussed there was active and passive rating. No one called Imam as passive or active.
No, it was said. Yes.
Totally, the lecture was distributed in three basic,
Mm-hmm.
you can say, categories.
Yes.
The active rating, passive rating, and
Sure.
middle part of the rating. So these examples that you are countering at the moment were under the passive rating.
Yes.
And then he came to active rating, and then there was a middle rating.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you are refuting at this point of time
Yes.
is mostly a biased refute.
Yeah.
Because no one said Imam as passive. We were totally talking about passive rating, not even passive amals. Like you gave example for namaz, salah, parenting, etc. We were only talking about active or passive awaiting of Imam,
Yeah.
absence of Imam.
Sure.
Under passive rating of Imam, these were the examples. Then he came to active rating of Imam, then Imam Khomeini and Khamenei.
No, I'm talking about the A'immat al-Ma'sumin alayhum salam. They were used as examples of being passive, brother. The A'immat al-Ma'sumin, no. I'm happy to be proven wrong.
I was there physically.
Yes.
I didn't get this impression that you're saying Imam Sadiq was passive. What I understood in that gathering is that the awaiting was passive.
Sure.
Imam was
Regardless of what we said, I think this is beneficial for everyone to understand that none of our A'imma alayhum salam were passive.
not even I believe that.
Good.
But I want to raise a point in this. I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Don't you think like this reputation is building another confusion on top of what people already have rather than clarifying?
We will get to the clarifying part.
Claiming at this point that someone claimed Imam Sadiq as passive. But we know like the people who are physically there, most of the people who are here were not there.
Sure.
That he was explaining three categories of awaiting and not accused Imam of being.
Sure. Happy to sit down and go through the evidence that what was said. No worries.
The references that he mentioned, I brought it with me.
Sure.
Very short for
And the recording?
and the record.
Sure. Sure. No worries. That would be good.
The thing is, like, I don't want to counter argue with you.
No.
I want to say we are missing the point.
Yeah, no. We will get to the point.
We are not said that
We don't have a point to miss, brother. We are here to talk about Ahlul Bayt and how to be for their followers. As simple as that.
of course. But the thing is, like, the objective of this gathering is to clarify the misconception.
Yeah.
But we are talking something that was not being said. That is my point.
I don't think so. Thank you. So, Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, Radwanullah ta'ala alayhi, he has a very good book. And now, inshallah, I don't know if it hasn't been translated. I ask one of the brothers, inshallah, who has a good English and can work on translating it. It's called Ahlul Bayt, Tanawwu' Adwar wa Wahdat Hadaf. Ahlul Bayt have different roles at different times and circumstances, but they have one goal. And their goal is the religion of Islam. They don't have any other goals. However, the Imams use different times to do it. Al-Hasan wal-Hussein, Imaman, in qama wa in qa'ada. They standing or they are sitting, they are Imams. So regardless, they are going to be an Imam of all times. So you can't, categorize this is good. And even the Shia at the time, they had trouble with this concept. That's why when Imam signed the peace treaty, Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam signed the peace treaty, they questioned him. He said, don't you believe I am the Imam of your time and I am Hujjatullah ala al-ard? He said, yes, I believe that. He said, then why do you question my decision? This is part of God's plan. This is part of the goal. So then that takes us to, given that we don't believe that any of the 12 Imams alayhum as-salam were passive, and the followers were taught not to be passive, is it true to say that for the first 1,000 years, no one Shia, no, not a single Shia politicized Karbala for the first 1,000 years? I want to know. What does that even mean? Politicize Karbala. I'd love to hear from you. Alhamdulillah, it's become interactive. What does it even mean? Can we even separate Karbala from its mission statement of dignity and defying humility? I don't know how you can separate Karbala and the movement of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and إني ما خرجت أشرا ولا بطرا ولا مفسدا وإنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي أريد أن أأمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر. How do you take this movement and say for the first 1,000 years it was never politicized? How? Then what was it? What was it for the first 1,000 years? Just the tragedy that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam fell out of his horse? He was just riding his horse and he fell off by accident? What does it mean? He fell off his horse. Well, who did it to him? The tyrant Yazid. Why did he do it to him? And so forth. I don't... Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam, every majlis they heard, every majlis they held in their houses. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, he is the narrator of Ziyarat Ashura. He teaches us to say in every Ziyarat Ashura, لعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. May Allah's curse be not only on those who participated in killing you, but anyone who hears this and is happy with what happened. Where is the unpoliticizing of this issue? I don't know how you can separate what happened in Karbala and say that they did not. Every tear shed in the houses of the A'immah and the Shia of the A'immah, every poetry about Imam Hussein is the defiance of the tyrant of their time. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he calls Abu Harun al-Makfuf and he says, recite for me. Why he does that? Reciting for Imam Hussein at the house of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is not a political stand against the government of the Abbasis. The Abbasis are, maybe they're sitting down and listening and crying with us. And maybe we missed this. Imams send their Shia for ziyarah. Every mention of Imam Hussein. Saddam. Only we don't have to go to previous times. What was the most famous qasida or latmiya or poetry that shook Saddam to the core, that he banned it and he killed anyone who Ya Hussein b'dhamayirna صحنا بيك آمنا يا حسين بضمايرنا. Oh Hussein, you are in our hearts. We call your name every time and every age. Saddam had a huge problem with that. The reciter was to be killed. The writer of the poetry was to be killed. Is there those who know Arabic and who've listened to the poetry? Is there any political mention in this qasida? Not a single verse in it that says Saddam or government or uprising or anything like that. It just says, Imam Hussein, you are in our heart. This is not a matter of emotions. This is a belief. Right? Why is Saddam so shaken up about the issue of Imam Hussein? No one said that we will do this to you because of Imam Hussein. No, the nature, the core, the essence of the movement of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is to destroy the tyrants. It's simple as that. You can't separate it. The moment you try to separate it, you've destroyed the issue. You've destroyed the story altogether. Otherwise, I don't know why did Imam Sadiq alayhi salam bring the poets and the majalis in his house? Why did Imam al-Rida alayhi salam all the way in Khurasan, Di'bil al-Khuza'i comes, he says, recite for me. أفاطم لو خلت الحسين مجدلا. Right? Di'bil didn't recite anything about the government in that poem. No, he said, O Fatima, you are the daughter of Rasulullah. If you came to Karbala to see how Hussein was lying on the ground. Right? But what was the punishment for Di'bil after this poem? Capital punishment. They said, if you find Di'bil al-Khuza'i, kill him. So, I don't know what it means. Like, I put this question here, and I would love to hear, what does it mean that for the first 1,000 years there was no Shia who politicized Karbala? What does that even mean?
Dr. Rose, sorry, I just have to add something.
Sure.
A lot of people take Karbala and what has happened to be a ritual. That we should just mourn it on the days that it needs to be mourned.
Yeah.
And just leave it at that. Could you clarify for everyone sitting here, what is that? The essence of mourning holds what respect in our faith?
Yeah. So, of course, I would never ever take, inshallah, we are all at the service of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, from the importance of the majlis and the cooking. And you heard, first night of Muharram, it wasn't here, it was at the other place. I gave a whole lecture about the importance of the rituals of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and I said the reward is unmeasurable. Even the reward for other a'mal is measurable, but it doesn't measure to a tear that you drop for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. But why? Is it just because it's a tragedy? Is it just because this man was killed and he was thirsty? Or because this man represents Allah on earth? Right? And this man represents the mission of Allah on this earth. And those who surrounded him represent true loyalty to the Imam and true principles of Islam, which is to stand up for justice against injustice. That's it. It's Karbala is a summary of Islam in one day. It's a summary of Islam, all the principles of Islam, all the teachings of Islam, all the core faith and beliefs of Islam in one day. It's as simple as that. So that's why it's become such an important day. And everything that's related to it, cooking and cleaning the majlis and holding the majlis and reciting the majlis, all become highly rewarded. Because everything revolves around this issue is important. I'm really going over time and I'm not giving enough time for question and answer. Of course, the concept of hayhat min nadhilla is in the Holy Quran, so it doesn't need to be chanted, regardless of if we chant it or not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran says, وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَالْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلَكِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Izzah, dignity, and the fact that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam says, I am dignified by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is no way that I would humiliate myself in front of the likes of Yazid and Ibn Marjana, is in the Holy Quran. And Imam al-Hussein just embodied it. He embodied that ayah on earth. Is it true for the first 1,000 years? I'm getting very close to the end. First 1,000 years, Shia were passive, and it was only in the last 200 years they became active? Definitely not. The reason for that is every scholar in the school of Ahlul Bayt, I take that back, not every scholar, majority of scholars in the early Tashayyu' believed that general vicegerency of the mujtahid or the alim is on behalf of the imam, and if he was to be given the chance to uphold a government and stand a Shi'i government, then he should. Shaykh al-Kulayni believed in that. Shaykh al-Saduq believed in that. Shaykh al-Mufid believed in that. Shaykh al-Tusi believed in that. Sayyid al-Murtada Alam al-Huda believed in that. Al-Halabi believed in that. Ibn Idris al-Hilli believed in that. And as I said, if we had time, I would be able to quote each and every one. But I chose out of all of those early scholars, just one. Al-Halabi, who is one of the students of Al-Sharif al-Murtada, he says, فَمَتَى تَكَامَلَتْ هَذِهِ الشُّرُوطِ, if the conditions are right, فَقَدْ أَذِنَ لَهُ فِي تَقَلُّدِ الْحُكْمِ, then the scholar, the marja of the time, should govern and rise and rule. وَإِنْ كَانَ مُقَلِّدَهُ ظَالِمًا مُتَغَلِّبًا, even if the person who gives him this government is a zalim. Even if he takes this authority from an oppressor. وَعَلَيْهِ مَتَى عَرَضَ ذَلِكَ أَنْ يَتَوَلَّاهُ, if this ever happens, he gives this as an Islamic ruling. If this ever happens, he must take control and command of the land. Why? لِكَوْنِ هَذِهِ الْوِلَايَةِ أَمْرًا بِمَعْرُوفٍ وَنَهْيٍ عَنْ مُنْكَرٍ, because this wilaya upholds ma'roof and forbids evil on earth. Therefore, it is an Islamic responsibility and duty. In the Middle Ages, the following scholars believed in the general vicegerency of the Imam during the time of Ghaiba. Allama al-Hilli, his son Fakhr al-Muhaqqiqeen, al-Shahid al-Thani, al-Muqaddas al-Ardabili, Kashif al-Ghita, al-Najafi, Sahib al-Jawahir, Mullah Ahmad al-Naraqi, Shaykh al-Ansari, Muhaqqiq al-Na'ini. All of these scholars believed in general vicegerency and that the scholar's role is to govern if the conditions were met. More than that, put the scholars aside. What do we do with history? We had Shia, 12 dynasties in the first 1,000 years. What do we delete those from history and pretend that for the first 1,000 years Shia were passive, and then only in the last 200 years Mullah Ahmad al-Naraqi came up with a theory. And now all of a sudden the Shia woke up to themselves. We have the Buwayhi dynasty from year 311 to year 439. That was only 51 years after Ghaiba. They governed Iraq and the surrounding areas, and they were Shia, 12ers, and they governed the land. And they used our scholars as the judges in that government. Our scholars worked as the judge in that government. High scholars. Safawi Empire was from the year 878 AH to year 1113 AH, which is only 618 years after Ghaiba. They said in the first 1,000 years they were all passive. This Safawi Empire was endorsed and supported by our great scholars like Al-Muhaqqiq al-Karaki, Allam al-Majlisi, Al-Shaykh al-Bahai, the one who was buried in Mashhad al-Rida alayhi salam. All of these scholars, they endorsed the Shah. And I don't want to quote them because at the time now what happened and who and why, but there are in some words they say they endorsed the Shah, and they said to him, you are representative of the Imam. And lots of talk, we see the glory of the Imam in your face and this and that. So this happened. You can't say that for 1,000 years the Shia did nothing, they were passive, and then all of a sudden, just in the last 200 years, they woke up. There was whole dynasties and governments in the name of Tashayyu' that rose and gone. So, do we then have active maraja' and passive maraja'? I don't think so. I truly believe that we don't have such thing as active marja' and passive marja'. We have different roles and responsibilities in every day and age, and sometimes we may have different roles and responsibilities within the same age. For example, me and Brother Basir, we both live in Brisbane. I say to Brother Basir, you and I are two human beings. We can't do everything. You look after the center, I look after the school project. I work on the school project, you look after the center project. Or the other way around. Brother, you look after the Friday program, you look after the Saturday program. Right? That doesn't mean that the people of the Friday program are against the people of the Saturday program. It's dividing the roles and responsibilities. The examples that were given that this one attacked this one and this one attacked this one is not true. Sayyid Abu al-Qasim al-Khu'i rahmatullahi alayh, his role, and he said it very clearly, my role is to protect the Hawza from being erased. I will do whatever it takes to make sure this Hawza is not destroyed by Saddam. That was his role. He said if other Maraji' want to do other movements and other things, that's for them to do. Your role and responsibility is to migrate and move and things. As for me, I come to Najaf, you will only pick me up in my coffin. The only way my feet will come off Najaf's ground is if when you raise my coffin. That's it. I will not leave Najaf. Allah gave me the responsibility of looking after the Hawza. My role will always be to look after the Hawza. Nothing will take priority over that. It's not he was asleep and he was told that you are sleeping and of course, because this is an Islamic principle. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله من أصبح لا يهتم بأمور المسلمين فليس منهم. If you in the morning wake up and you don't care what's happening around the world, then you are not a Muslim. Do we say that the passive Maraja are not Muslim? ومن سمع رجلا ينادي يا للمسلمين فلم يجبه فليس بمسلم. And if someone hears a Muslim call, oh Muslims, help, 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 and you don't answer his call, then you are also not a Muslim. Who wants to take this hadith and apply it to a passive marja'? And this hadith is in Al-Kafi. This is a photo, I just wanted for the interest of history. This is a photo captured in 1973, where the so-called passive Sayyid Abu al-Qasim al-Khu'i, radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, rose to the sahan of Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullahi alayh, with a group of scholars and thousands of supporters to call against Israel and the war that was going on between the Arab nations and Israel. This is a news article, by the way. This is actually a copy. آلاف المواطنين يحتشدون بالصحن الحيدر الشريف. Thousands of people gather along with the علماء الأعلام يكدون بوجوب إسناد الجيوش العربية المقاتلة, asking to support the Arab armies against the occupation. وباستخدام النفط سلاحا في المعركة, and to make sure that oil is not being sold to Israel and to stop trades with them. You can see in this photo, of course, many of the scholars like Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, radwanullah ta'ala alayh, Sayyid Sistani is sitting in the corner over there. These are the Maraja. They stood up for Palestine, they stood up for what's happening in the Muslim world. That was their role and responsibility. We don't have something called passive. And of course, I wanted to share this hadith with you, but I will skip over it, that Zayd, the brother of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, the son of Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, was endorsed to uprise. Why? Because he was aliman, he was a scholar. وَكَانَ صَدُوقًا, he was honest, he was true to his word. وَلَمْ يَدْعُكُمْ إِلَى نَفْسِهِ, and he didn't call for himself, which is exactly our scholars, our maraja, exactly what they do. They are scholars, they are alim, and they are honest, they're truthful, adil, and they don't call people for themselves. No one says, come and follow my religion. They say, come and follow the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam. Finally, and I conclude, this is my last slide, I promise. The concept of waiting is open to interpretation. I have to say, sorry, it's not. Until this issue was raised, the simple answer was always, if you see yourself in the state of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Imam of your time, which is by doing taqleed of following the maraji', then you are actively waiting. It's simple as that. It's like taqwa. You know, the Holy Quran uses the word taqwa, taqwa, taqwa. One of the companions came to Imam Sadiq. He said, what's this taqwa? Every time I hear it, people say, be pious, be pious. What's this piety? He says, everything you do in life, ask yourself, Allah is watching. Is He happy with what I'm doing right now? Or is He upset with what I'm doing right now? Is He proud of what I'm doing right now? Or is He disgruntled with what I'm doing right now? If He is pleased, then you are in the state of taqwa. If He's not pleased, then you are in the state of ma'siyah. And that's actively waiting. Everything you do in your life, you ask yourself, Imam Mahdi alayhi salam is watching me. Is he pleased with what I'm doing? Then, inshallah, I am preparing the way for him. If he's not pleased with what I'm doing, then... And that makes it fluid. Why? Because the responsibilities of each and every one of us is different. For example, one brother has experience in the science of politics. He gets involved in politics. One brother, for example, mashallah, is financially able. He goes and builds a school and a mosque and things like that. That's his active awaiting. This brother gets involved with this. It all depends on your capabilities and abilities. وَلَا يُكَلِّفُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. Allah asks you to do that as per your ability. A lady may be at home, her ability is to raise a generation of believers. That's her awaiting. That's her active awaiting. Right? And finally, I just want to give this. Active awaiting involves 3 pillars. The belief in the Imam alayhi salam. And belief and having aqeedah in the Imam is not just information. I know his date of birth. I know what his mother's name is. I know who his father was. I know what city he was born in. That's biography that the Orientalists, the people who study Islam in Harvard and even here at Griffith University, there's a Department of Islamic Studies, they probably have more details than us. But that doesn't make them more pious than us. That doesn't make them more Shia than us. We are Shia because we believe that this man is Hujjatullah ala al-ard. He has been appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the 12th Imam. He has been named and chosen. And if he did not exist on this earth would not exist and the skies and the heavens would not exist. And that our amal is shown to him every day, if not every Thursday. And that on the day of judgment, they will raise me and they will call me by him. وَيَوْمَ نَدْعُو كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. And that he is Hujjatullah, which means every amal that I perform is taken and endorsed by him. If he endorses it, then it's accepted by Allah. If he doesn't endorse it, then it's not accepted by Allah. That's what that means. Having the correct aqeedah of the Imam. Not the details of who is he and what city did he live in. The second one is connection, mawadda. And that's not confined to dua and sadaqah. That is confined to emotional connection. I wake up every morning and I think, my Imam is all by himself. What have I done to please him? My Imam is sore, his heart hurts because of what's happening in Palestine and Gaza. Because they are his Shia that are being killed. And in Lebanon. What am I doing to help aid the heart of the sorrowful Imam? Of course, dua and sadaqah and tawaf and all these a'mal are good. But we need to have قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَةِ. You need to show affection to the Imam every moment of your life. Every salah you stand up for, every moment you have. And finally, a'mal, practical implementation. Exert all that you have to please him. Everything that you have. Religion is not a religion of just to do beliefs. الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. It's not just a matter of believing in the Imam, you have to believe and do amal. So active is to do amal. Otherwise, if you are not doing any amal and you are just staying at home and you believe that you shouldn't do anything, then obviously that's not pleasing the Imam. عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. My apologies towards the end, I had to rush, but I want to conclude to give opportunity for some Q&A. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والذابين عنه والمستشهدين بين يديه. اللهم أرضه عنا يا رب العالمين ولا تفرق بيننا وبينه طرفة عين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Before we get started, just like to remind everyone that doesn't have the link to the Slido, which is where you will submit your questions. Please go to a website called Slido, that's SLIDO, and then enter the code that is 4014315. That's 4014315. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
If while we're waiting for the people to log in, they can ask by mic. We can do that.
For the sisters, there will be a sister that will be handing out the mic.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa
Thank you so
rahmatullah.
much for this detailed explanation, and I think it's much needed. I think somebody should have stopped there as well as it was done here. So there should be Amr bil Maruf Nahi al Munkar on the spot so that it's not escalated. But the thing is that this year I'm just wondering, I was typing the question, it's going to be a long question, but I've been looking at the pattern, what's going on, and this is the hype this year. I haven't seen this before.
Yes.
So there is a diminished role of the whole movement of Karbala on one hand. I have seen so many different versions of that. That, just cry and then forget about anything else. B, nobody has stood up to anyone except Imam Hussain. Then also I've heard Na'uzubillah min zalik that Imam didn't do Amr bil Maruf Nahi al Munkar, and now this thing. So I don't know, I connect the dots and I see something else. And Imam says that if you want to find out, if you can't distinguish between haq from batil, look at where the batil is pointing at.
Yes.
So what I'm thinking is that, one strength, one pillar we have is marjaiyat.
Yes.
That guides us in this time of confusion.
Absolutely.
And that's why this is coming. And I think this should be understood because, most of the people, they're just sufferers of this disease. And something big is hyping and brewing.
Yes. Yeah, the real danger, sister, is that when these misconceptions come, they always come wrapped in a very beautiful gift wrap that we are coming to show you how to be close to Imam Hussein, how to be muwali, and a loyal muwali, not a political muwali. And therefore, the real wilaya comes by doing this, to cry and not do anything else. And once again, it's exactly what you said. Our strength in our madhab, and honestly, the reason we exist is because Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam prayed for the existence of the Maraja, and the Maraja did all they can to keep us in existence. And therefore we are here. And so the enemy recognizes that, definitely. The enemy recognizes that completely. They study us back to front, left and right. They know exactly what we're up to. And therefore, the best thing to target, if you want to do, the final punch to get rid of tashayyu', is try to separate them from Ahlul Bayt. They won't separate, so separate them from the Marji'iyya, and then use the teachings of Ahlul Bayt to twist and turn the way you want. Because any text is open to interpretation. Look at the way the Christians misinterpreted the Bible until now they believe in 3 gods, not 1 God. You know what I mean? Any text is open to interpretation, right? So that's the danger, is that separate the Shia from the Marji'iyya and then use their text in whichever way you like, and then they can do that. The other thing, sister, is obviously we have a hadith that I don't remember the actual nas of it, but the context is that the Imam alayhi salam says, the most clever of you is the one who's aware of his time. We need to be aware that this is not by coincidence the hype of the year. Right? They've been working towards this for a few years now, and it is very much in line with the worldly events that are occurring. But trust me, this is not, Marji'iyya has been under attack for a lot, but now in particular, it is a good time to give the Marji'iyya a good strike because of what's happening in the world and the strength that the mu'mineen are gaining from their connection to the Marji'iyya. So this is the best time to strike this separation. Yes.
And now they have extended beyond Marja'iyya. They have gone to our Imams as well.
Yes.
So I want to ask, what's the responsibility of centers inviting such people? What's the responsibility of us listening? And what's the responsibility of ulama?
Our responsibility, sister, is to stand up and have ghairah for our religion. And ghairah for your religion is to be able to defend with whatever you have. If you have some knowledge, you spread that knowledge. If you have some control and command, you exercise that control and command. If you don't have any control and command or anything like that, at least do simple amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar. And stand up. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah alayhi says, i'rf al-haq ta'raf ahlah. Know the truth, and then start knowing who is the people of the truth. So it's very important. I completely agree with you, sister, and to be honest with you, it's each and everyone's responsibility to do this amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. Thank you very much. We'll give an opportunity for anyone else. Yes, brother.
Thank you so much for your lecture today, Dr. Oz. I just had to go back on the hadith which was shared, which was regarding being passive as if you were like a rug. in your home.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify. So you mentioned that hadith was directed to Sadir.
Sadir.
Yes. So was the Imam alayhi salam specifically telling Sadir
To stay home.
Yeah. Was it specifically because he was going out and he was in prison? Was that the reason?
Yeah. So obviously the Imams, sometimes they exercise taqiyya to protect the lives of the Shia, right? So they exercise that we need to perform taqiyya to save the lives of the Shia or to save the lives of the Imam himself. Because sometimes what leaks from information results in imprisonment of the Imam or killing of the Imam alayhi salam. And the Imam, even though he is ma minna illa maqtulun aw masmum, none of us are either but killed by poison or by sword. But they have a plan, right? They need imamah to continue. So they need to exercise that taqiyya to save their lives so that the next imam takes place. And you see their lives became shorter and shorter. Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam only lived to 27, right? Their lives became shorter. Imam al-Hasan al-Askari also in his 20s. So their lives were, extremely under attack. And that's why they had to exercise a level of taqiyya. The second thing is, Sadir lived in a time and an age. This is my point, is that the time and the age of Sadir, Imam grabbed him and took him to the flock and said, look, there's only 17. So in your time, O Sadir, standing is not the right thing to do. And the Imam has the right to do that. And it so applies in our time. There has been times where the Maraja have said, don't do anything. In terms of, don't do this, don't do this. Even within that, because they are the ones who have the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt and they have the right to assess, to say, this is the right time to do this, the right time to do that. And that's why it's very important that we stay up to date with the opinion of our Maraja' Taqleed and what they are saying in this day and age. and how we should be acting. Your connection with your marja is very critical. You don't just open the Risalat al-Amaliyya when you need to fix an issue with your wudu or your ghusl or your salah. Your marja taqleed is alive. When you go to ziyarah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, go and visit him. If you go to ziyarah of Fatima al-Ma'suma alayhi salam, go and visit him. Talk to him, ask him your questions. They're there, they talk to us.
So it's just, in that specific hadith, he said that be as a rug until, and then the signs were mentioned, right? So why was it until then that when those signs are mentioned, then you should...
As I said, this hadith is specific to Sadir, because Sadir is going to live a certain time. The Imam, in his knowledge, knows that Sadir is only the time of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He probably passed away before now and Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. Within the Shia, the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam gave their followers specific roles and responsibilities. Like when Imam Rida alayhi salam went to Mashhad, he decided to keep some Shia in Medina and some to travel with him to Khurasan, right? And he said, for example, this one is my slave, I need to take him with me. But he was no slave, he was a narrator. He used to write everything down. So the Imams, in their knowledge, they knew that what I'm telling you, and as I said, you can tell from the wording of this hadith, it's in a highly taqiyya state. So you cannot generalize it to every day and age.
So that was specifically to
Sadir, yes.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Any more live questions from anyone?
Allah yasalamkum, Allah yahfadkum, Allah yakhalikum.
Thank you. So we will start. If there's any more live questions, please put your hands up during the Q&A session. I'd like to remind you the code is 4014315. For the first question, what is the context of Hayhat min al-Dhilla?
Sure. Hayhat min al-Dhilla is, of course, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, salawatullahi alayhi, on the day of Ashura, used it as a short and sweet statement to summarize his mission, which is, as I said, the mission of every messenger and every prophet. This mission is not exclusive to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. It is the mission of Adam and Nuh and Ibrahim and Musa and Isa and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But he was the chosen one to be the sacrifice. He says, خير لي مصرع أنا لاقيه كأني بأوصالي تقطعها عسلان الفلاوات بين النواويس وكربلاء. I have been chosen to be the one who his body will be chopped up in that desert. Right? So the context is that Imam al-Hussein, when he had an opportunity to talk to people or to write a wasiyah, he expanded on that statement. For example, the will that he left behind with his brother Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, he talked about that. That if you know my position from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, and that Rasulullah had said, if you see a man rising with corruption, then it is for a Muslim to stand up against him. Right? His wasiyah to Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah was detailed. Why? Because he left something in writing. Then when he was leaving Medina, the people of Medina said, oh, it's in the middle of the night, 28th of Rajab, you are leaving, pitch black. Then he explained, Inni ma kharajtu ashiran wala batiran wala. I have not risen to cause corruption or divide or no, innama kharajtu li talab al-islah. I have risen to reform the nation of my grandfather. أريد أن أمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر. In Mecca, he became more blank. He said, if you don't join me, then it is your loss. And if you don't join me, then you have not reached conquest. لم يدرك الفتح. If you don't join me, you will not reach conquest and success. What conquest? Are you going to conquer a land? Ya Aba Abdullah? No. My mission is success, regardless of if it ends up in a bloodbath or if it ends up in me ruling and governing Kufa. Right? Until that last moment, which is he was given the choice. They said, look, it's been a few days now, 3 days, we are in the desert. Umar ibn Sa'd's army is getting tired. Imam al-Husayn's alayhi salam's army is thirsty and hungry and in the sun. His family and children are dying of thirst. Now they're thinking now under pressure, he's going to cave in. Right? Like they are doing to us now. Under pressure, they have killed our leaders. They have killed our respected scholars. And every day we hear of a new tragedy. They say, look, under pressure, they will cave in. Right? So they said to Imam al-Husayn again, even though, as I said, they tried it again. Umar ibn Sa'd tried it the night before. He gave him the two choices. And on the 7th of, when they cut the water off, they tried it. But now was the morning of the day of Ashura. The thirst was at its ultimate. So they gave him one more choice. They said either to accept the rule and the government of Ibn Marjana, la'natullahi alayh, and to do bay'ah to Yazid, or to fight, stand up and fight. So he said, I have been given two choices by the Da'i ibn al-Da'i, Israel, the son of America, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad and Yazid, and I have been given two choices, and my choices to do is to fight. Hayhat min nadhillah. And God forbid that I would humiliate myself and put my hand in the hand of Yazid and in the hand of Ibn Marjana. And that is, God forbid. The context for the asker is very good, because hayhat min nadhillah applies to every day and age. My dear brothers, my young ones sitting here, every situation in life, you have to say hayhat min nadhillah. Why? Because becoming trapped and committing sin, or becoming a slave of your desire and your temptation, is dhillah. It is humility. When your friends tell you, come, let's go and have a look at this, let's open this website, let's talk to this person, let's steal this from this shop, let's talk to this person, let's swear, let's do this, let's go to this place. And you say, no, my Islamic principles, I am Husayni. My Islamic principles, I am the follower of Muhammad Rasulullah. Tell Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. My dignity forbids me from humiliating myself and doing haram. That is hayhat min nadhillah. Every moment of your life is hayhat min nadhillah. Right? When you are asked at work, let's go for drinks after work, Friday night drinks, and you say, no, I'm not going to drinks, thank you very much. That's hayhat min nadhillah. And it goes up and up and up. Those who are slaves of their desire, they have a desire that twists them around all day, every day. They are just being driven by it. Money, 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 whatever it is. Or property, property, property. Beauty, beauty, appearance, appearance, brands, whatever you want to call it. And you are constantly chasing that. Your life revolves around this temptation. That person is dhaleel. That person is in the state of humility. Why? Because he has fallen in the trap of being a slave of his temptation. And therefore, hayhat min nadhillah is, God forbid that I would humiliate myself and remain in the state of the slavery of sin or haram or temptation. I am dignified because I am the slave of the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He is the one who gives the dignity.
So the phrase hayhat min adillah, we should not just use it on the day of Ashura, but we should use it in everyday situations.
Yeah, of course. The day of Ashura, I'm not taking away from the importance and the uniqueness of it. The best man and the best stance and the best person who ever said it in the best moment is Aba Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. That's why our Mawla Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam in Ziyarat al-Nahiya, what does he say? لَقَدْ عَجِبَتْ مِنْ صَبْرِكَ مَلَائِكَةُ السَّمَاءِ. The angels of the heavens were astonished by your patience and resistance. Adam did hayhat min nadhilla. Nuh did. Ibrahim did. Musa did. Isa did. And the angels are the same angels. They've seen it all. But the way Aba Abdullah did it. لَقَدْ عَجِبَتْ مِنْ صَبْرِكَ مَلَائِكَةُ السَّمَاءِ. So of course, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying my hayhat min nadhilla is Imam Hussein's hayhat min nadhilla. Please. I am saying the best embodiment and the best example Allah gave to mankind is that day. On that day when Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam did hayhat min nadhilla. No one will ever come and do it as good as he did, but it remains a lesson for humanity until the day of judgment. And that's why in alamat al-dhuhur, what does Imam Mahdi say when he first appears? Not just to make us cry. Ya ahl al-alam inna jaddi al-Hussein qutila Atshana. O people of the world, my grandfather Hussein was killed thirsty. Why is he doing that? Just so that we cry and then distribute the food afterwards? So that we know that the mission of the prophets, the mission of the messengers, the mission of the imams was summarized on that day. I'll try to keep my answers short. Sorry.
Here we have a live question from
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for your time. Quick question about Shia unity. So we are getting divided, whether on different topics or different ideology, or sometimes hero worshipping, like people are worshipping, or we can say in Urdu we say shakhsiyat parasti, like some people are attracted with this personality, some people, it's a natural, so it is, and then we get divided. And so how we can work on, we will keep dividing, so how we can establish some rules that we work on the ideologies or the true things, but we don't get divided because we are all brothers. Some may have some affiliations or at some time, so it doesn't mean that they are out of Shias.
No. Of course.
So how we can keep our Shia connection together while keeping these differences that doesn't hurt or the emotions. Sometimes I can get emotion hurted. Someone else can also be done the same thing.
Yes.
So.
Of course, very good question. By no means do we encourage division and segregation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold on to the rope of God and do not disperse and separate, but hold on to the truth. We can't be, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen described Muawiyah's army. He said they are united over falsehood and we are divided over our truth. So whilst we must always endeavor towards unity, that unity should be over truth. I'm not willing to unite with falsehood. That's the first important thing to do. Inni silmun liman salamakum wa harbun liman harabakum. I am at peace with those who are at peace with you, and I am at war with those who are at war with you. So as Shia, as followers, we are holding on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are Ahlul Bayt, as by the correct definition and the translation and the tafsir of the Holy Quran. And we are being united and as per the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, congregate to unite over our beliefs. Of course, we have a duty towards each other to correct any mistakes or any faults that happens. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal asr inna al-insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu as-salihati wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. That yes, the believers have a duty towards each other. They need to assist each other with patience and assist each other with truth. So whilst we cannot guarantee that we will always be 100% on a one unified way all the way, but we are under the banner of believers. So we must assist each other with patience, assist each other with truth. Now, as I said, even this lecture that we are doing today, I hope no one interprets it as a personal attack on anyone. We are united under the banner of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam. However, because of our obligation towards Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam and towards the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam, we must clarify any misconceptions. And these misconceptions are not imaginary. The number of phone calls and messages and confusion that occurred in the past week is all logged. I'm happy to, So what happened is obviously there was confusion. Our Islamic, remember what I said earlier? It is everyone's Islamic responsibility to do that which is at their capacity. If you have enough money to build us a school in Brisbane, please do it. That's your capacity, right? My capacity is that I have answers to these questions, because these things is we don't know, and we don't have access to the Imam, and we don't know this and who said this. So I said, okay, you don't have the answers, we have the answers, let me share the answers. That's as simple as that. No, we do not want to be divided over and cause segregations. All we want to do is we want to clarify the truth, as simple as that. And Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam and pleasing of the Imam is our ultimate goal, no more, no less.
So I think Brother Haidar has a live question that should ask.
Regarding the previous answer,
Yes.
When Imam Raza was forced to
Yes.
take a position in the government of Ma'mun, why he didn't use hayhat min az-zillah?
Why he didn't use hayhat min adillah? He did, but not in those exact
He
words.
actually took the position.
He brought Da'bil al-Khuza'i. Let me tell you what his hayhat min adillah looked. He brought Da'bil al-Khuza'i into his house. He put a curtain between the men and the women. So this is witnessed by men and women, right? And he made him recite eulogy for Ahlul Bayt one by one until Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam, who is his father, right? And then until he said وَقَبْرٌ بِبَغْدَادٍ لِنَفْسٍ زَكِيَّةٍ. And there is a grave in Baghdad, at that time there was only one in Baghdad, for a pure soul. He didn't do anything wrong. Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam didn't steal, didn't cause corruption, didn't do anything to be punished by penalty of years of prison followed by death. And then Imam Rida alayhi salam added to that. He says, hey, do you want me to tell you the rest of your poetry? He said, what is the rest of the poetry? He says, وَقَبْرٌ بِطُوسٍ يَا لَهَا مِن مُصِيبَةٍ. Let me tell you about one more grave in Tus. What a calamity it is. So this is a revolution against the tyrants. Read the story of the Salatul Eid. Imam Rida alayhi salam stood to go and pray Salatul Eid on the day of Eid, and he wore the Aba of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih, and he said, if I do takbir, do Allahu Akbar after me. They say the streets of Maru and the walls of Maru shook under their feet until Ma'mun started losing it. He said, bring him back, bring him home, lock him in his house, don't let him meet anyone. Brother, it's not hayhat min adillah. This is hayhat min adillah in a different form. It's as simple as that. That's why he resulted in killing. If he was a passive worker for Ma'mun, he would have just gotten good money and lived a good life. Right? That Imam Rida only lived to 50, by the way. He didn't live long. 52, 53. So it's not like he died of old age.
Ahsan, Dr. Az. Brother Haidar also had another question that he submitted via the app. He says, sir, you are clearly opposing a program that was by Sayyid Ammar.
Definitely not.
He didn't mention that passive waiting is the way he pointed. 3 ways of waiting: active, passive, middle. And if I could just answer quickly. Brother Haidar, we did not do this program or this workshop to oppose Sayyid Ammar or any other of our esteemed khutaba. We did this program because, like Dr. Aus mentioned, there's a lot of misinformation, and it's our obligation to Allah, to the Ahlul Bayt, to talk about these issues and educate the people, because this has caused a lot of confusion. And I'll hand it over to you.
If the dearest to my life, my own mother or father, come forward and say this about an imam or one of my marja, I will respond exactly in the same way. We don't have any blood relations or any relationships with anyone. We have truth, and we have standing up for the truth. Imam Rida alayhi salam didn't work for the Ma'mun. Imam al-Sadiq was not passive. And our Maraja are not passive. And the Shia for the first 1,000 years weren't asleep. That's all I want to say. I don't have a problem with anyone. When the Sayyid arrived in Brisbane, I met with him and we sat down and we had a cup of coffee, a friendly chat. I don't have any issues with anyone. Inni silmun liman sa'lamakum wa harbun liman harabakum. We are all on the way of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. However, as I said, it is our Islamic obligation to correct any incorrect points or information spread. The second thing was, yes, there was 3 ways. I know what was said accurately. Okay, I know exactly what was said. Yes, there was 3 theories. The first theory was talked about for the first 36 minutes. The first theory in details. 36 minutes. The second theory was given 4 minutes or 4 or 5 minutes. And the third theory was not discussed at all. Almost bypassed. So that's my issue. That's my issue. This is why we have this crowd. Because this crowd was confused. Is that, okay, you said there is 3 theories. By all means, we agree. Sometimes in our lectures here, we say there is 3 opinions on the tafsir of this ayah. But if I want to be scholarly and balanced and fair, I have to give 2 narrations to support the first opinion, 2 narrations to support the second opinion, 2 narrations to support the third opinion. Not give 8 narrations to support the first opinion, 1 or none narration to support the second opinion, and no mention of the third opinion at all. That's my only issue. By all means, scholarly discussion is very good. We encourage it. But once again, and also one other thing, even in Hawza in Najaf, scholarly discussions is sometimes not to be had with general population. When you have an 8-year-old, when you have a 7-year-old who's got an attention span of 10 minutes, he's going to listen to the first 2 narrations and then tune out. What's he going to take home? Yeah, that's the issue.
Ahsan, Dr. House. We have a live question from Dr. Majid.
Thank you very much for this lecture. Thank you, Dr. House. I just would like to clarify one thing to Brother Haider. Sayyid Ammar, when he started, he said, this is not a majlis, this is a scientific conference. We accept it. I have a PhD in physics from the University of New South Wales. After he finished, I let all the people take a photo with him, and if you go to the record, you will see me, my back to the camera, because I'm not coming to talk with him regarding to take a photo with him. I speak with him, I criticize him scientifically, and I speak him with Arabic, with my language Iraqi, and he speaks Iraqi. I told him, you mentioned 3 schools, and you talk and give evidence to the first school. When we come to the second school, you didn't mention or give any evidence, except you talk about the lecture by Imam Khomeini given against the Hawza. And he told me, no, I have a 1 lecture, go to my website and have a look about this school. I told him, I don't need to go back, but I'm coming here to say to you face to face, scientifically, you are wrong. Because scientifically person, when they're coming, talk about the 3 evidence or 3 schools, they have to give evidence to the first school, second school, and third school. And you didn't mention any evidence to the second and third. He said, no, I have a lecture on it, go to it. I told him, no need a lecture. We need evidence in this conference. So you are get wrong for this presentation. Scientifically, you are wrong. I told him face to face, and if you have a connection with him, go and talk.
Any other
Thank
questions,
you.
Brother Haider? Because it's been long, but we'll take a couple more if there's.
Ahsan, Dr. Majid. So we have a question from Brother Zaid. He says, for those who want to learn, what books or courses in English cover and inform the relationship we should have with our Imam?
Ahsant. Very good. We have a few really good short courses. If you go to the Imam Hussein Islamic Center in Sydney, Sheikh Mansour Liqa'i, my teacher, he has made some really good short courses that you can do over the summer. Not the full E-Hawza course, which is a 2-year course. You can do short crash courses about Siratul Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, the history of the Prophet, a short course on Quran, a short course on the Imamah and the beliefs in Imamah. Those are probably definitely one of the most important thing. The second thing is obviously, mashallah, we have this Shia bookstore, or our bookstore stands, that there is some really good books at the moment in that we should read. Some of the books by Sheikh Bahmanpour, they are very good and they are very practical about building that relationship with the Imam. So these are some very good. As I said, it's hard for me sometimes, because I go to Arabic literature and not everything in Arabic has been translated to English, but the brothers who bring the books from Sydney, from the Shia bookstore, sometimes show me. They say, okay, this has arrived. And some of the books are very good. I highly recommend Sheikh Bahmanpour's books if you want to begin there. And they are at that good level where they are not too difficult, We're not talking about, the state of difficulty where, like you are reading Ayatollah Masbah al-Yazdi's book or something like that, where you need a background in philosophy or a background in other sciences. No, Sheikh Bahmanpour's books you can pick up and read without even a strong scholarly background or Hawzawi background.
So, Dr. As, before I move on to the next question, I'd just like to mention we have 26 questions, mashallah. So if there are any questions that you specifically want to be asked, please go on the Slido app and upvote it so I can see which one is the most popular, so I can give it on to Dr. Aus. The next question, in last week's lecture by Sayyid Ammar, this concept of khums was greatly degraded. How did khums come about? Did the people really bury the money in the garden?
Yeah, sure. So we have some of these stories that the Shia were confused at the time and they did, which I find it very far-fetched. The reason for why they are far-fetched is that the concept of paying the khums to the wakil of the ma'soom was known from the times of the imams, not only at the time of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. Having a wakil to receive the khums and to spend it on the Shia and the affairs of the Shia was from the time. For example, that story of the time of Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam was in prison, and this Waqifiyya, they were wukala of the Imam, and they used to gather the money, and they gathered so much money and they never spent it. Why? They said, we don't have permission from the Imam to spend it. We have to wait for him, until so much was gathered that when the Imam was martyred in prison and Imam al-Ridha alayhi salam came into Imam and said, hand it over, what did they say? They said, no, Imam al-Kadhim never died. He's in ghaiba and he'll come back and we'll give it to him when he comes back. Why? Because the money started to look too good, right? There was lots of gold coins and silver. So the concept of paying the money to the wakil of the Imam or to the marja or to the representative of the Imam was no foreign concept to the Shia. They did it during the time of Imam al-Kadhim, al-Ridha, al-Jawad, al-Hadi, al-Askari. So they would have paid their khums to the wakil of that time. That's one thing that we are not sure. Now, did the wukala at one stage believe that, let me store something aside because they thought that the ghaiba was short-lived, that they may want to keep some for the Imam specifically, and they said, okay, let's bury this as a treasure and spend the rest on the Shia affairs. But there are Shia affairs that have to be spent on day to day. Like a Shaykh al-Tusi, Radwanullah ta'ala alayhi, he was in Baghdad, right? And then he was attacked by the Mughals, and he moved from Baghdad to Najaf. He built the haram, and he built his mosque, and he built his hawza, and he built his thing. Where did he build that from? Did he have a gold business on the side, or was he trading petrol, oil? No. He used the khums. The hawza was re-established from Baghdad to Najaf using khums. And he built houses for the students. He actually, Sheikh al-Tusi built Najaf. It was never it was a graveyard. It was never a city, a residential city. He built infrastructure and houses and schools and the boundaries of the haram. He did that with the khums money. So as far as I'm aware, I can see people like Sheikh al-Tusi, Sheikh al-Mufid, Sheikh al-Murtada spending the khums money. So I don't know at what critical age, and of course the four vicegerents, Uthman ibn Sa'id, wa Muhammad ibn Uthman, wal Hussein ibn Ruh, wa Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samri, they had full authority to use khums money because they were Na'ib Imam. So the Imam told them, spend it here, do it there. So now between Ali ibn Muhammad al-Samri and Sheikh al-Tusi, was there a short time where maybe some of the wukala would put some money aside and say, hopefully the Imam is back soon so we can give him? Possibly. But it wasn't a foreign concept that we give the money to the wakil. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden the Shia, the Ayyimma alayhum as-salam were preparing the Shia for the time of Ghaiba from the time of Imam al-Jawad, from the Imam al-Rida. They were preparing Shia. Look, there's a Ghaiba coming. You will go and ask the scholars for your questions. You will go. Sometimes Imam Rida alayhi salam would have somebody come to him and he will say, I have a question. He said, you come all the way to ask me a question? Why don't you go to Abdul Azim al-Hasani in Ray and ask him, for surely I trust that he will give you the right answer. They were training the Shia to start going to the wakil, pay your khums to the wakil, ask the wakil, and not to get too dependent on the Imam. So yes, maybe for a short time portion of the money, but not like, they were left for years bearing money or anything like that.
So I'd just like to remind all of you, after the program is finished, we do have food and refreshments available. So inshallah, you guys
nothing left of us. So the next question should be, when's dinner?
Not too long. The next question, can you elaborate, by Brother Hadi Zahir, can you elaborate more on the 5 signs of the reappearance of Imam al-Mahdi?
Sure. So obviously the 5 signs, as we said in the narration, they are definitive signs. Other signs we have in the narrations of Ahlul Bayt, they can happen and they cannot happen. And some of them are called irhasat, which is preliminaries. However, these 5 signs are definitive. They must happen. There is no doubt about them. And the other thing is they will happen very close one after the other. It's not like the Sufyani will appear now and then 10,000 years later or 10 years later, the Yamani will appear. And then 25 years later, the Khasf in the Bayda will happen. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam describes it like this. He says they will happen like the beads of the Sibha, one after the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he says, just wait for those 5 signs to happen. When they happen, they will occur very closely, one after the other. And as I said, the 5 signs that we shared in the hadith, I want to make sure that I put them in the right order, because even the order that the ma'soom utters them in is critical. We don't want to put one in front of the other. This hadith from Al-Kafi. Al-Sharif, Sa'altu, no, sorry, not this one, is that they occur one after the other. Yes, there are 5 signs before the rise of the Al-Hujjah, Ajjalallahu Farajahu Al-Sharif, the heavenly call, As-Sayha. And, as I said, some narrations expand on that and say that it is Jibreel alayhi salam. Sufyani, which is a man who rises to rule Sham and becomes the governor and takes control over the Bilad al-Sham, not just Sham as in the capital, Damascus, but all of those countries around it. The sinking of the earth, the Khasf bil-Bayda, Those who've been to Masjid al-Shajara outside Medina, they know that there's a big desert out there. The Sufyani will come towards Mecca through that area. When he reaches this land in the Bayda, the earth will sink and all of them will be swallowed except for one will survive, so he can tell the story of what happened to them. So this is called Al-Khasf bil-Bayda. And the next one is the murder of the pure soul, An-Nafs al-Zakiyya, a messenger of the Imam, Al-Hujja Ajjalallahu Farajahu al-Sharif. He will be a Sayyid, he will be a Hasani, not a Husayni. He will be from the descendants of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. He will go to Mecca to prepare the people that Imam is coming soon. Oh people, I am his messenger, I am about to call for him. Instead of hearing him and listening to him, they kill him in the haram. In the actual haram, or now the haram is this current haram, or in the haram as in the sacred land of Mecca, we don't know, but the Nafs al-Zakiyya will be killed. And the last one is the Yamani, the rising of the Yamani, which is the greatest army that supports him, bi-abi huwa wa ummi, which is he will come. Now the Yamani says is that it's because he's Yamani, because he's originally, his grandfathers is from the tribes of Yemen, or he actually rises from the Yemen, or Yamani because Allah makes everything easy for him, you know, from the Yumn. Like that's why in Arabic this is called Yameen, right hand, you know. Or Yamani because he is the right hand man of the Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. Doesn't necessarily mean he is Yamani from Yemen. We don't know, but once again, there is a good, very good book now. Please, once again, it's in Arabic, so inshallah we find a translation by Sheikh Ali al-Qurani rahmatullah alayh. Sheikh al-Qurani has a very good book about the signs of appearance for those who are interested. It's a very nice science. Once again, it's good, but it's sometimes you delve into it, you can get a little bit lost in it because the narrations are hard to interpret. Why? Because they're talking about the future. So sometimes they're hard to interpret. Yeah. So reading from books like Sheikh al-Qurani about Alamat al-Dhuhur is very good. It's called Alamat al-Dhuhur by Sheikh al-Qurani. If you search it and search for a translation, inshallah you can find it.
If a scholar gives a wrong opinion on a vital topic, should all his other opinions be abolished, even if they are accurate and accepted?
What's the level of the scholar? No.
I have no idea what they say. Let's just say a mujtahid.
A mujtahid. No, of course. Mujtahid, that's why it's called ijtihad. Because you are not to give in tashayyu', in Islam, you are not to give your personal opinion until you reach a certain level of knowledge and wisdom that you can utter the final opinion according to the conclusion that you have made. And that's why, if you are not a mujtahid, what are you? If you are not a mujtahid, what are you? Muqallid. You're muqallid, you are a follower, right? So a muqallid in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, I followed the marja. That's my responsibility. A mujtahid must reach a level of knowledge that he can conclude and reach a level of ability to extract. A mujtahid may make a mistake, but in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that I did all that I can. And of course, his ijtihad is in this issue, if it's found to be wrong, it's not followed, but doesn't make him wrong. Why? Because he has reached ijtihad. He has done all at his capacity to reach. But ordinary people like, anything below a mujtahid, of course, it depends what kind of an error. A theological error makes him lose his adalat. A sin, depending, small sin, major sin, all of those make a difference in the adalat and being able to witness and being able to lead namaz and all of those other things.
Sant, before we conclude, I'd just like to thank Dr. Aus, a huge thanks and huge gratitude to Dr. Aus for the amazing workshop that he has provided. Many of us, including myself, were very confused and we were very misinformed before we came into this workshop, and I think you have cleared up a lot of confusion and a lot of misinformation. So I thank you, and may Allah bless you and bless everyone that has attended this workshop to clear up their confusions and clear up the misunderstandings.
Inshallah, if we can read Dua al-Faraj as well, if
And
I
we
can
think-
lead, if that would be great. But anything else you want to say?
Apart from that, thank you everyone. Or before we read the Dua al-Faraj, please recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali tu'ajjil farajahum. All together in one united voice. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات وبالخصوص شهداء الإسلام شهداء المقاومة الإسلامية وعلى رأسهم سيد شهداء المقاومة رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات. بسم الله. Thank you very much, brother.